Yes, guys, really, we're going to do a video on a Honda minivan. Let's get started. So this is a 2011 Honda Odyssey van. Customer has a check engine light. That's all that they had an issue with. They dropped off the van, said give us a call and let me know what you find, and we'll go from there. Had MachE scan the codes, and it had some codes for where the valve actuation, it said pause, where it was stopping the valve actuation in the cam train. Did some research and found out that usually that's a problem caused by low oil. Let's take a look at the dipstick.
You're checking the dipstick? You're checking yourself or the car, dear?
No, I'm good. I'm checking the car.
Okay, let's get to it.
So let's see, is that what the problem is here that caused the check engine light? It doesn't even register on the stick. Nothing. It's dry. So the whole reason for the check engine light is simply because it was low on oil. When we did check the oil change sticker and also the maintenance minder that's on the dash, it showed 9,000 miles past the 5,000 mile oil change. That's 14,000 miles without an oil change. You might ask, what does that have to do with a Mustang Mach-E? And the fact is, this is becoming a common problem. I've seen that a lot of cars lately where it's not a matter of ignorance. It's not a matter of someone's too dumb to open the hood. It's a matter of, as Americans, we're getting so busy anymore. We got things on our plate. The last thing we want to do is open our hood. It's easy to get carried away. Life gets in the way, and pretty soon 3 months go by, 4 months go by, and you're like, oh crap, I haven't even checked the oil. No one wants to do that anymore. There's a solution to this problem. It's called electric vehicles. You want me to prove it to you? And there we go, guys. Problem solved. 2021 Mustang Mach-E. The customer that actually had the Honda Odyssey van with the low oil issue, we actually did an oil change, cleared the codes, it's totally happy. And in place, they've purchased a 2021 Mustang Mach-E. This thing is amazing. It is really, really cool. We're going to take a look around it, check it out like we always do. And no, we're not going to find an engine under the hood. It's very interesting under the hood, really cool. There's a lot of talk back and forth about electric cars are going to come or they're not going to come, or that I'm ready for it. I'm actually very happy for the electric car movement. Right now, I believe the government is investing a lot of money in charging stations. They're going to build that infrastructure. I think once they do, these are really, really going to take off. Another thing as well is a lot of car companies have decided by 2035, 2040, or different ranges like that, there will be no more gas cars sold. So there's a lot of people that think, oh, I don't even want to deal with an electric car. Those things aren't going to take over. But you have to think, if you go back in time to the days of horses and buggies, and slowly people started to see a Model T come into town. And the old guys are like, we don't need those gas cars. We don't want to see those. They're not even going to take off anyways. They're not going to be anything special. Let's just stick to the horse and buggies. We don't need those cars. You fast forward 5 years, every small town in America is filled with Model Ts. So it's the same scenario here. We don't need those electric cars. We don't want to hear about them. But you give it about 5 more years, they're already all over the road. They're going to be everywhere all over the road. Now, will they be able to replace all the gas cars in 5, 10 years? No, they'll still be on the road. But I believe there will be a way, not necessarily to force people's hand to get rid of gas cars, but just like the cash for clunkers thing back in the early 2000s. They'll have either really big incentives, or to register your gas car, the registration will be so high, and they'll work together with insurance companies to make sure that your premium doubles or triples for your gas car. But there's a 50% discount if you buy an electric car, and gas will be probably $12 or $15 a gallon. At that point, even the diehards that want to keep their gas cars and don't want to give it up, they'll finally give in. They'll be like, I can't afford to keep my gas car anymore. So that's how they will get the cars off the road. And the reality is, do we need Buick Encores on the road? Do we need Dodge Stratuses on the road? There's a lot of the older Hondas and Kias before they were a pretty good car. I mean, back in the day when they were really pretty junky. A lot of those cars really could be taken off the road anyways. I'm an advocate for electric cars. I really love them. And I also agree, and I know that it's going to kill my line of work. There are things to be done to these cars as far as brakes, and there are some fluids, but for the most part, you're going to have to be almost an electrical engineer to work on these things. There's a lot of things that are really going to be the problem is software. They're going to have Ford Motor Company, Tesla, or whoever is going to have really strong lockdowns on software. You're not going to be able to get in there and hack it. You're not going to be able to get in there and change things around. That is going to be the death knell to mechanics like me. But again, that's not going to happen in 2 or 3 years. It's probably 10 to 15 or more. Still, I'm totally for these cars. Just like with the Honda Odyssey, who wants to check their oil? Who even wants to do that anymore? I don't. On the weekend, after I've been working on cars all week long, the last thing I want to do is open my hood. Now let's take a look at this really sweet MachE. The first place we actually seen one of these was at the Concours d'Elegance at Amelia Island, and it was really, really sweet. And seeing it up close now, we can look even closer. It's beautiful. Look, other than a few air ducts here or there, there's nothing. There looks like there's some louvers here for some sort of air, maybe for a condenser, but other than that, the idea of your front grille is gone. There's some nice Mustang wheels. Obviously they're going to be like new because this car basically is new. It has 14,000 miles on it. No, this is not where you fill it up with gas. That's where you put the charging port right in there and charge the car. It does look like a Mustang, Mrs. Wizard.
Yeah,
it's just a little tall. It's taller, but it definitely has the design elements of a Mustang.
and it's definitely longer.
Yeah? I really like it. As you can see through the wheel here, there's nothing special about the brakes. It's your standard brakes, just like on any other car. So those are things that will be able to still be done at your local mechanic shop. Here's our Mustang taillights. Really cool emblem. It's a beautiful color. Kind of looks like your Discovery Sport, Mrs. Wizard, the black and the white.
Oh yeah, it totally does have a Land Rover kind of feel for it, especially with the very big pano black roof.
Yep. I'll go down this side and just let you guys take a look at it. Not many of these on the road compared to other cars. Let's open the frunk, the engine bay, whatever you want to call it.
Looks like he goes to the gym,
Plays some sort of sports.
maybe some soccer, but yeah, I'm not seeing any engine up here there, Wizard.
Nope, you're not going to find any timing belts, no water pumps, no timing chains, no turbos, none of that crap that fails and costs you thousands and thousands of dollars. No dipstick. Did you see a dipstick anywhere, Mrs. Wizard?
No dipsticks like we did on the last car, but the only thing we've got here is the windshield wiper fluid filler.
Yep, the washer filler here. Washer fluid.
There's an access panel there. What does that do?
I don't know. Probably to get to the headlights here,
I bet.
because there's one on the other side as well.
Yep.
There's all kind of panels and things here. There would be things that can be serviced, but they're not things that you as the owner of the car really need to worry about. That's going to be one of the selling points to these cars is you don't do anything. You just drive it. That's it. You don't check anything. You just go.
I do like that it does have an emission sticker there for us.
Yep, make sure there's not applicable, OBD2, zero emission vehicle. Fuel. electric.
Nice, nice. No special warnings for the people in California that have different warnings than the rest of the planet.
No, there's no adjustments needed. There's the rear trunk. Still no dipsticks. Nothing. Nothing back here, just storage. Got a umbrella, some hats, and if you obviously this car's being used. You can put the seats down. It looks like it has quite a bit of room. Well, before we get this thing on the lift and take a look at it, let's let Mrs. Wizard give you guys a tour of the interior.
So it is kind of interesting. There's no handle here. There's a handle here, but this doesn't do anything. To get in, we push the button. And the little part here we hang on to is just so you have something to grip a hold of. That's pretty cool. Normally we don't start at this view, but this seat is pretty cool. Got some perforated leather here. It is really soft. It is really, really cool. Again, nice headrest. Again, some charcoal gray in here, but let's go ahead and hop in. Okay, so here we go, ladies and gents. The car's running. Can't you tell? Exactly. Yeah, we can see that it does have a good charge, 80%, and it does say it has 14,318 miles. See a few little gauges in there. And what's interesting is that on the camera, I'm seeing some purple lights showing up here, but we don't see that. That's not actually what we can see. That's something that the camera's picking up. So that's kind of an interesting little thing. But nonetheless, if we zoom back, obviously there's nothing wrong with this. It's a brand new car, but it's really cool. The texture on the front dash is really kind of cool. It has kind of a canvas, kind of like art canvas texture. Again, kind of that similar texture up here as we move down. Then we have, of course, some lovely carbon fiber, which adds a nice touch with some white stitching on the leather. Huge speaker there, right there on the door. And you can see on the door handle, it's a pull back. So when we leave, we're just going to grab that and pull it back like we're rowing a boat with some oars. As we move back into our center area, here is the big guy in the center. This is massive, bigger than an iPad. To sign in, you actually have to put in a passcode. So the owner of the car has an app on his phone, controls this, and also then sets up an account to start the car. Now, cool features are, it keeps track of a lot of stuff. Now, there's not much to be keeping track of for the fact that just tire pressure. We can change our controls. We have dual climate controls, obviously, and we do have just some, standard things like, front and rear defrosts as well. Sliding down, a couple other important things in life, and we've got the round gear selector, which is very much reminiscent to that Discovery Sport that I did have. As we move back, we can see this is a family hauler. He's got a toddler and an older kid that get to ride in the back seat there, and I bet they have a blast looking out the roof. Okay, maybe not to see the roof of our shop, but that is a really, really big area. One thing I'm noticing that I don't see though, it does not look like that has a cover. So if it's a bright sunny day, kids might be getting a little toasty back there, so you might have to turn up that AC to compensate. Interesting place for our garage door openers, actually in the visor itself. Haven't seen that feature done before. But again, we've got standard things, reading lights and, place to hide your sunglasses. As we end up here, standard, design. We have our lovely racing Mustang pony right there in the center of our steering wheel. Again, normal kind of controls that we would see on any Ford product, for volume control, controlling, the big infotainment system over there. And again, cruise settings as well. So pretty basic there, which is kind of nice. So if you do transition into an electric car, there are some features that are going to be the same from what you're used to in your previous ICE car as well. Okay, Wizard, we've seen enough of the interior. Let's get this thing up in the air.
One thing that was really cool when I was pulling it up is that you put it in a drive. It's not like a modern car where it starts creeping. If you let off the brake, your car will start to creep forward. On this one, it does nothing. It just sits there. Until you start to touch the gas, then it will roll forward. As soon as you let off the gas, it's as if you hit the brakes. It stops. But you didn't hit the brakes. And it's kind of one of its regenerative braking things. So you can almost come to a stop without using your brakes. In the EV world, it's called one-pedal driving. If you plan it just right, you can let off the gas and almost come to a stop and never hit the brakes. That will really save on brake pad life. Let's get this thing up in the air. Took us a little bit to get it on the lift because it has little arrows and you have to put it just in the right spot. The entire center section of this car is batteries. But we'll start right here at the front bumper and we can see there's really nothing to see, just a panel. This is just road salt here. We'll look at our brakes. Those are big brakes.
Those things are massive.
But you can see here that even though it's in a full electric vehicle, it has a wheel hub, it has a brake caliper, it has a strut. All that stuff is the same still. I really am not even going to bother checking it. The thing's like new. You can see up in here. What do you see there, guys? No transmission. No engine. Nothing. No rear main seal to go out. No timing cover gaskets to go out. No valve cover gaskets. No oil filter. No oil changes. That's what I see in this hole. None of the garbage of a gas engine car. I really like that. Just like I mentioned a minute ago, we still have standard car components. Here's a control arm, here's a sway bar link, brake hoses. All those things, like I mentioned, are still the same. Here's the steering rack, which is obviously going to be electric. Here's a tie rod end. So as far as being a mechanic, you will still be able to do these things, even on an electric car. And here we go, guys. No catalytic converters, no exhaust pipes, no resonators, no mufflers, none of that garbage, just batteries. Just like on my Nissan Leaf, if this were to have battery issues, it would be where you could unbolt all this. It's called a skate platform, and the whole thing can come down. I guess they could replace all the batteries, although I imagine it's not going to be a couple grand, it's probably going to be like 20 grand or something crazy. Well, no shafts to fill, Mrs. Wizard.
No, nothing big and girthy under here.
No. The batteries are girthy, though.
That they are.
Here's another shield. And here we are back again. These are standard automotive components. We have a CV shaft, a shock absorber, a coil spring, an electric parking brake, a brake caliper, a brake rotor, a control arm. All those things are still the same. Here we do have a transaxle type situation. It's an electric motor and with the CV shafts and everything that goes into there. I imagine there are some lubricants in there. But again, there's not going to be a dipstick. It's nothing that you need as the owner of the car to mess with or check. That is the drive of this car. That's what actually propels the vehicle, is that power unit right there. But connected to it, again, all standard automotive components. Well, I guess we're not going to get Flowmasters on this thing, Mrs. Wizard.
No custom exhausts going on here.
No, none of that.
Unless you got a Bluetooth speaker, you've got some playlist, you can put exhaust sounds on it.
I suppose. Well, let's get this thing on the ground. So does that mean that you bought an electric car, that all your woes and all your maintenance troubles are behind you? No, not necessarily. You still have, like I showed you, suspension components that can fail, struts and brakes and things of that nature, sway bar links that can go clunking on you. There's seat motors, there's airbags, there's all kinds of electronics with a climate control system. It's almost like a normal car, just without the powertrain issues. But we don't always have to worry about checking the motors inside of our seats. We don't have to worry about checking on our air conditioning system. That's something we just use it. And now, when you have an electric powertrain, that as well is something that you don't have to worry about checking on. If you don't want to deal with maintaining a car, the idea of checking your oil, That's so yesterday, I don't even want to mess with that. Which really is becoming most of us in America. And especially for me, when I get to the point where I'm ready to retire and be done on working on cars, I've checked the oil of 10,000 cars. Think of that, guys. Probably 10,000 cars. Do I want to keep checking oil? No. This is what I'm going to get right here. And then there's the debate. This thing, why do they call it a Mustang? It's not a Mustang. It's an electric car with Mustang styling. And I don't have a problem with that. I think it's really nice. I think it looks good. And plus, Ford killed the car line except for the Mustang. Or this is kind of not really a car. It's kind of a crossover type vehicle. But other than the Mustang, there's no more cars from Ford Motor Company. In 2022, other than the Mustang, you're not going to go to a dealer lot and find cars for sale. You'll find trucks and SUVs and Mustangs. That's it. So there will be things that will need to be repaired in a shop that are mechanical, that a mechanic can still fix on these. But there's going to be software and various other powertrain issues that really are going to have someone specifically trained in that area. If you want some really cool tools, a lot of them that I have in my toolbox that I use in the shop every day, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. They're all listed for sale there. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's cool stuff coming in the shop all the time. Thanks for watching.